Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Rojin Z, so spoiler alert. An old man reaches out to someone. He wets his bed and calls out for help. He's lying on the floor in his bed, sick, pleading to be looked after. It's the early 21st century and Japan, like most other countries, is dealing with an aging population. As the population of the elderly grows, so does the demand for care, which the younger generation aren't always ready or able to meet. A team is having a discussion in a meeting and a man steps in apologizing for being late. The aging population is the center of the discussion. To address the lack of resources and treat the number of ailing seniors suffering from heart diseases and weak digestive systems, the man presenting introduced everyone with Project Z. We're back in the old man's house now, who looks extremely sick. He's not alone. A nurse is doing his laundry. Politely, she suggests the old man not to push the panic button just because he's wet his bed. The button is to be used for a life or death crisis. Suddenly, loud bangs are heard and someone's at the door. The nurse rushes to open the door and a bunch of men in suits walk in uninvited. It's the same men who were discussing the growing elderly population earlier, and it looks like they're here to take the old man away to make him the subject of their experiment. Upon asking, the girl says that she's a student nurse and takes care of the ill during her off days. As the men in suits take the old man with them, they ask the nurse to tag along too. The ministry has chosen this man for conducting an experiment that will revolutionize the care of the old. These men have permission from his next of kin. The nurse Haruko is with her friends in the college classroom. One of her friends asks her to join the scientist in the lab where he'll be introducing the machine designed for taking care of the elderly. The demonstration happening in the physics lab is for the media. Journalists and the media have gathered around in the physics lab waiting to see the equipment in action. The first ever elderly person to enjoy its care is Takazawa, the old bedridden man. Behold, it's the Z001. This equipment is believed to be a breakthrough in the care of the elderly. The Z001 is a robotic hospital bed that's operated by a computer. It can provide entire care for the patient, including dispensing food and medicine, removing waste, bathing, and exercising the patient while he or she is resting within the bed's frame. With just a touch of a button, you can program the machine to perform certain types of actions depending on the type of care that the ill patient needs. The machine also has a built-in system to take care of their mental needs. Just touch the button and screens will appear in front of the patients, allowing them to watch the news and even play games like chess or balloon bomber. Last but not least, the Z001 can also monitor the patient's vitals, such as blood pressure and heart rate, to ensure they remain healthy. If any of the vitals are unstable, the computer runs a diagnostics test. If the patient's medical history is programmed into the computer in advance, it will even suggest medication and appropriate patient care. In a situation where the machine has exhausted its medical skills, it transmits the information to the patient's loved ones or family doctors to take the immediate decision. The computer can also detect natural disasters and provide protection in case of a burglary. It can even build a fictitious personality to become a companion for its patient. It's a 6th-generation computer and is autonomous, self-aware, and capable of learning, adapting, and even upgrading itself. And because it's all powered by an onboard nuclear reactor, you'll never have to worry about power outages. The bed, with the patient lying within, would become automatically sealed in concrete should there be a meltdown. Haruko has one question. She's concerned if the machine cares about Mr. Takazawa's feelings. It seems all the man in the suit care about is liberating society from the care of the aching, bedridden elderly. People sitting in the room are impressed by the machine already. Now it's time for a press conference. Looks like Mr. Takazawa isn't happy and Haruko somehow knows it. Female nurses are concerned that machines are cold-hearted, while male nurses think it's a great invention since it will liberate them from taking care of their elderly parents while they can take a leap in their careers. A girl walks in and tells Haruko there's something unusual on her computer. All the computers, including hers, are stuck and the screen says Haruko. The friend suggests taking a print of the screen to see if there's a pattern since her name is appearing in a strange sequence. Haruko randomly clicks on the computer and the message on the screen changes. It's Mr. Takazawa trying to reach out to Haruko. It's a cry for help. Haruko and a bunch of friends sneak into the facility where Mr. Takazawa's kept. They try to fiddle with the Z001 and see what's wrong with the old man. Haruko and the gang are caught. She tells the men that Mr. Takazawa sent her cries for help and that's the only reason she's there. The men don't believe her and start inspecting the machine. Haruko was right. The men thank her for being the source of identifying the error in the machine. The men reassure the nurse that they'll take good care of the old man. Just when Haruko and friends are about to leave, they hear the old man calling Haruko's name. She tries unplugging the man from the wires he's loaded with but is smacked by one of the men. He suggests removing the wires might kill the man. The machine needs technical help. Meanwhile, Haruko and her friends get into a fight with the suited man. The machine starts moving. The old man, who seems to be unconscious, is operating the machine and speaking through it. He requests Haruko to take him home. The machine leaves, busting through the door in blazing speed. The machine, that happens to be self-aware, can transform itself to adjust in the elevator. All the girls manage to escape, but one of Haruko's male friend is left behind. The girls are riding the machine and it's on the road, moving like a car. They reach Mr. Takazawa's home to get his wife's picture to cheer him up, but the police surround the house. Among these are reporters too. Haruko decides to tell the truth about Mr. Takazawa to the reporters before the police arrest them, but alas, they're caught by the police. Just when this is happening, the machine acts up, but the man in the glasses turns it off to settle everything down. Mr. Takazawa is back in the facility and is being monitored by a team of engineers. It's identified that there has been an error in the primary data input. The Secretary of Health questions the team about the black box that's supposed to identify the problem in the machine. There happens to be a design flaw that's causing the machine to act oddly. Haruko and her friends are transferred to the seniors' wards, and they get to keep their job in the hospital. They aren't even arrested, because if the world found out about the Ministry of Public Welfare failed with the machine, that would have been bad for them. Haruko is still worried about the old man. Her friends convince her that he might be fine since he hasn't sent a new SOS. While doing her job, Haruko learns that one of the patients in the ward is a hacker and he's busting crimes by reporting them anonymously. Haruko asks him for a favor. She wants him to reach out to Mr. Takazawa to help him out. The hacker manages to successfully access Z001, but the old man fails to respond. Haruko investigates Mr. Takazawa's belongings and finds a picture of his wife. They do a simulation of the wife's voice to get through to the old man, and he responds immediately, saying that he's in pain. The Ministry of Public Welfare has used a biochip computer to operate the machine, and this technology is fairly new. Takashi, Hasegawa and others go to see Mr. Takazawa, and the machine is erect and walking. It manages to break through the door and escape the facility. He sees the image of his wife and tends to follow it, destroying anything that comes in the way. Haruko asks her friend to cover for her while she heads out to meet Mr. Takazawa, who's still talking to his wife and expresses the desire to go to the beach. It's all over the news that a man operated by a robot is out on the streets causing destruction. Takashi comes looking for Haruko in the hospital. Hasegawa suspects something on the computer in the ward and steals floppy disks from the computer. The authorities surround the site where Mr. Takazawa is. At the same time, they arrest Haruko but hear a voice, the voice of a woman demanding to let her go. It's Mr. Takazawa's wife's consciousness who's now controlling the machine. The machine goes out of control and scares everyone. Haruko talks to Mrs. Takazawa, basically the machine, and asks her if her husband is fine. The machine rushes across the street. Hasegawa, Haruko and Takashi are now flying in a helicopter to find Mr. Takazawa. It turns out Hasegawa's intentions weren't pure, and this experiment was merely a tool for him to test the capabilities of the computer, and poor Takazawa became the victim. Hasegawa can tap into Mr. Takazawa's subconscious memory, and he knows exactly where the machine is headed. There he is. The machine's flying in the air, but wait, it's about to collide with the air railway. Despite getting hit, the machine can lift itself at the top of the railway track. Haruko tries to jump from the helicopter to help the old man, but Takashi holds her back. The helicopter loses balance while flying through the trees, and Takashi falls off the helicopter, but the Z001 captures him. It's too dangerous for the helicopter to fly towards the machine, so Takashi is alone with the machine. Mrs. Takazawa now addresses Takashi to come down as his blood pressure is rising. Takashi explains he intended to care for the ailing elderly and he wants to win the Nobel Prize, but Mrs. Takazawa stands in the way. Mrs. Takazawa tells him that the machine is too clever and that he should calm down as they head to the beach. She agrees to go back to the hospital once they spend some time at the beach. Haruko and Hasegawa are at the beach too. Hasegawa has ordered to park the trailers and prepare to capture the machine the moment it arrives. Takashi and the machine have arrived too. He requests to remove the trailers, but instead of complying, Hasegawa orders to launch another machine, the Alpha. It's the military version of the Z001, which was developed parallel to the civilian model. Unfortunately, Alpha is programmed to follow Hasegawa's orders only. We're about to witness hell, or maybe something else. The Z001 wraps wires around the arms of the Alpha machine, but it's able to withstand the attack. Instead, the Alpha reaches out and tries to break the Z001. But wait, the patients at the hospital have been able to hack and gain control of Z001. Meanwhile, the male nurse friend is in the helicopter flying with a bunch of TV reporters to rescue Haruko. Hasegawa orders Alpha to finish the job before the reporters get to capture it. Z001 can kick Alpha, get Hasegawa out of the way, and head through the tunnel to get to the beach. Haruko and Takashi follow the machine onto the beach. Just when they can reach the end of the tunnel, Alpha in helicopter form attacks the machine and tries to stop it. After a few fists and kicks, Z001, which is still Mrs. Takazawa, separates Mr. Takazawa from the machine and tries to clear the way and asks Haruko to bring her husband to the beach. The male nurse comes into the tunnel in an ambulance to rescue everyone, and they go to the beach. They're at the beach, but Alpha is holding all doors. Haruko and the boy manage to get out of the ambulance, but Mr. Takazawa is still in there. The patients from the hospital send a message via the machine. The only way to stop Alpha is to find the chip, which is at the top of the robot's bed. Takashi hands over a cylinder to Haruko to hit the chip with, and she starts climbing. But Hasegawa is there too, and he tries to stop her. After much struggling, Haruko reaches the top and strikes the brain with the cylinder, but that wasn't enough. Haruko asks Mrs. Takazawa to help, and she makes the final strike. The Alpha machine finally gets destroyed. The Z001 collapses, but it's still functioning. Mr. Takazawa, Mrs. Takazawa, Haruko, and Mr. Takashi witness the sunset at the beach. Mrs. Takazawa bids farewell and asks her husband to sleep. Before going, she says that they'll meet again soon. The cat we see at Mr. Takazawa's home comes out of the machine and goes on a stroll. Yoshihiko Hasegawa, the man in charge of the robots, is arrested, all thanks to the patients at the hospital who have reported this mayhem. Haruko and friends visit Mr. Takazawa in the hospital. Suddenly, a destructive noise appears. It's Mrs. Takazawa. She and the cat are back to see her husband again and visit the beach. Everyone is astounded to see her. So this is it for today's video. If you like the video, give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Farewell till next time.